Welcome everyone, OUA today on scene in Montreal here at Percival Molson Stadium. It is actually halftime of the CIS EastWest Bowl game going on that we've been bringing you coverage from all week. You're going to be listening to this right now. It's on the radio show on Monday after the game, so you'll know the final score. I'll probably be talking about it a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm here with Andrew Lue, who's an OUA alumni. He's made his way onto the CFL and he's playing for the Montreal Alouette. Now, Andrew, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You played in the EastWest Bowl, yes?
Yes, I did.
How much fun was it? What was your favorite part?
You know, meeting all the guys and the coaches was really a valued experience for me, and it was a lot of fun. You're playing with guys you've never really played with before, and especially a lot of the out-of-province guys, and for us East guys, a lot of the French guys. So it was a very fun experience meeting everybody, and the whole week. It's a bit grueling, but at the end of the day, it's a really fun experience.
How much stock do you put into the combine numbers? Because I know you're a guy that tested really well, because I played against you and I got to see how well you broke on all the balls that I threw, but you tested really well and you've gone through the regional combines and the CFL evaluation camp and all of the steps that lead to getting where you are today. And they do a combine here at the start of the week as well, and some guys worry a little bit too much, I think, personally, about the numbers going into it. What's kind of your view on the way that numbers should be evaluated and used when you're getting to a spot that you're in now?
Well, I think that numbers provide an idea, I guess, for the coaches of and your athleticism, but at the end of the day, it's football, right? If you're not a numbers guy and you're not the type of guy that can, you know, hold off on crossing the line so you don't trigger it fast and all of the little subtleties in it, and you're just a football player, coaches will see that eventually. The numbers at the beginning of the week, I guess, is just to give the coaches an idea.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're going to be evaluating you over the week. So as long as you can play football and show that, it'll come through.
Two-part question for you. Who's the best numbers guy you've ever seen, the freak tester that you've ever played with? It could be Montreal or at Queens. And who's the best football guy that might not have been, you know, putting up the big numbers at testing, but when it came to game day, he was your dude?
Well, freak athlete at Queens, I played with Gio Aprilli. You played against him. This guy is just always a monster. He played football well too. Clearly he's playing in the pros now. He was a great numbers guy. In terms of just pure athleticism and football, put me on the spot with that one. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that's just football at the end of the day, and with the combine especially, I always try to focus on my numbers, so maybe that's why I'm not looking too much at what other people are doing.
I'll throw one at you that I have always thought of this, and I don't know how he tested because I wasn't around to know it, but Sam Sabourin. Yeah. To me, he was a guy who wasn't tall, didn't look lanky, he didn't have the biggest arms or chest in the world, that kind of thing. But opening game against us in 2010, right? He had whatever ridiculous number of tackles. I think it was 15, 16, something like that. In his very first game ever in the CIS, starting at middle linebacker. So to me, he's kind of an ideal picture of a guy who is just a baller, just plays.
He's a pure football guy. Maybe he actually tests pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about it,
but he's one of those guys where I guess his football definitely is at a level where it could transcend like what the combine numbers might say. So.
You are now, as we said, in the pros. You're playing for the Montreal Alouette. You just completed your first season. Thoughts on your first year in the league? Was it what you expected it to be? Was it different than you pictured on your way in?
I'd say it was a bit different. It's one of those experiences that as much as you prepare for it and people tell you about it until you actually experience it yourself, you won't get the real feel. So
what was different about it?
I guess treating it as a job and understanding that the speed of the game is so much faster, and the time and the hours you put in, you realize that everything is literally going to be seen and graded. And so to some people like me, I relish that, just the whole idea of it's pure football, right? And you're out of school as well, so you don't really have much to focus on besides football. So it's pure football, and that lifestyle is to me, I said, very coveted, so I like it.
There's a lot of guys in the NFL that obviously they make the bigger money and all of that, so they have clauses in their contract that say you cannot go skydiving, you cannot get on a jet ski, all these things. Do you have any clauses in your contract that say Andrew Lue cannot have fun doing A, Y, and Z?
No, but I think that any self-respecting athlete that wants to take care of their body for a long period of time needs to understand where to draw the line. I'm not one of those crazy dudes that needs a clause to tell me not to jump out of a plane. I think I know better than that. So, yeah.
When you look back at your Queens days, what do you remember the most?
It's a camaraderie. Like, we were a tight-knit group of guys, and you came in the same year that I did, and you know some of the Queens guys as well. And we were just a tight-knit group of guys, still in touch with a bunch of them. A bunch of us are playing in the CFL now, and we're all still very close. So, yeah, and the coaches, everything was good there for me.
Are you excited for the approved new stadium, the refurb that's going on down at Richardson there? I know you probably think it was long overdue when you were playing there, because you kind of ended right at the end of when they were like, hey, we're going to go get this new stadium all built up, right? So are you excited to be able to go back for homecomings and be able to see that new field, that new environment?
Yeah, I'm so excited for that whole vibe to come back as an alumni. They say they're putting in turf. I loved the grass field personally, so
that was the thing.
How that goes.
I grew up in Kingston. I always played on the grass fields, and every time it rained, every high school football player knows you play in those muddy games that are ridiculous. You can barely move. You're freezing cold. It's just Canadian football the way it is. But then after that, I said, you know what, going to Mac, it's a great turf field. When it rains, you don't have to worry about mud. You just get a little wet, right? It doesn't matter. But then every time we would play at Queens, as soon as you step on the grass, you go, this is really, really nice. But it's so difficult to maintain, right?
Yeah.
Which is why many schools like Guelph has changed over to turf recently. And I know Windsor used to have just an absolute mud pit of a field when Darren Stevenson was playing there. Now they've switched over to the turf. It definitely does change the game. You play on turf everywhere except for Edmonton. Would be the only place left, or is there
no?
another?
Edmonton's turf.
Is Edmonton turf now?
Yep. Okay. It's turf right through now. So
yeah, it's turf all the way through. So how much does that change going from grass onto turf from your university, home playing? Because I know that you guys, by the end of your career, did practice on turf to get ready for some other games, but your home field was grass. So what's the jump like? Because anybody that's played football understands it is very different.
Well, I guess like you said, we kind of at that transition period where we were starting to practice a bit more on turf than on grass, so that kind of helped me, I guess, facilitate that change to just playing purely on turf. And turf is always going to be, turfs are different too, that's the thing, right? Like any football player will tell you that, like some turfs are soft, some are too hard, some are fast and slow. So anytime you go to a new field, you have to go test it out. So you'll see those players out there 2 or 3 hours before the game. They're not even really stretching or anything. They're just kind of walking on the field, bouncing around, seeing how the turf feels, and just getting acclimatized as fast as you can to it. So.
The new turf that's down at the Rogers Centre in Toronto, I don't know if you've heard much about it, but the Toronto Blue Jays have been talking about it. When they lay down bunts, the ball spins back to where they came from because it is so soft.
Really?
They laid down new turf. I believe they actually worked with the University of Guelph in putting it in. Okay. It's a new type of turf that they're trying. I believe that's what I heard. Don't quote me on that. But when you go from place to place to place in the CFL now after your first year, and I know you'd seen a bunch of different fields, you'd played on a different, but the difference in turf, does it change your mentality going into a game in any way, or is it just a field is a field is a field?
Field is a field. Maybe if you're not playing so well, you might find an excuse or find a reason to blame it on the turf.
This is really soft.
Yeah, after a while that might happen, but a field is a field. But like I said, you just want to get an idea of what to expect and understand and come to terms with the fact that you're going to be playing on it. So at the end of the day, both teams have to play on the same field, right? You can't really make excuses at that.
You played with a lot of great defensive backs at Queens. I know because they picked me off lots. Jan Diegel got me again this year, and then it was called back actually after a flag brought it back in. Yeah, but he got me and he was laughing coming back down. I said, damn, I thought you got me again as we were talking down the field. But who's a guy that you wish you could have played alongside? If you could pick anybody during your kind of 4 or 5 years at Queens, another DB because you played boundary corner, you played all sorts of places, but when I played against you in the last couple of years of your career, it was boundary corner. Who's somebody that you wish could have been your boundary half? And I know you had a great boundary half, but a great boundary half. But who do you wish you could have played with?
Right before my time there, Jimmy Allen, I guess he was the guy at Queens and the DB, and they said, that's a combine versus like an on-field guy, right? Like he was shining on the field, and maybe not a combine guy, but they said playing with him and around him, he just made everyone better. So playing with a guy like that, try it out at least.
Well, I appreciate your time, buddy. It's good to have you. It's an OUA alum. It's nice to get in touch with when we're back out here. So I appreciate the time and good luck this season.
Thanks.
No worries.
Take care, Mark.